Welcome to Rotoworld Football Show on the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. My name is Pat Kerrane. I'm joined by Kyle Dvorchak. Kyle, how's it going?
It's going good. We got, I don't know if you listened to Thursday's show, but some teams are on bye. So we have a bit of an interesting slate because of that.
Kyle, I was on that show, but
didn't notice. When I'm on the show, it's mostly about me.
There are 6 teams on bye. So a bit of an interesting DFS slate, which we're going to cover in detail here. We are also going to run through all of your start-sit questions. So get those in the chat now. We're going to start with DFS. We're going to take a break at 1:20 from the DFS talk and answer a bunch of start-sits. Then we'll do more DFS in the last 10 minutes of the show. We'll finish up the start-sit questions. So throw those in now. Seeing some questions coming in. Keep those coming in. We're not going to tell you how your trade that you already made went, so don't put that in. And you only have to put the question in once. I'll scroll up to the top and scroll through. So, all right, Kyle, let's dive into this DFS slate. It's an interesting slate, in my opinion, because we don't have like a ton of games that feel super fun. So, like last week, we had the obvious game stack game that did go off, the Lions and the Dolphins. Very chalky, but also one that felt bad to fade. And as it turns out, there's a lot of points there. So that doesn't really feel like there's a game like that this week. It's more like a lot of one-off plays. There's some really good running back plays that I like this week. We'll get to that in a bit. But where are you at on kind of like the quarterbacks and the game stacks and the game environments?
Yeah, I think even the high total games you look at, there's 3 at 49.5. They might have moved like a point either way, but it's Green Bay, Detroit. That is 2 bad teams. That's 2 bad teams in my opinion. Los Angeles Chargers, Atlanta. Also, maybe 2 bad teams, and Seattle, Arizona, 1.5 bad teams. Maybe just 1 bad team. I mean, maybe I'm disrespectful to Seattle, but the games that Vegas is telling us should score a lot of points do feature teams that have historically not scored a ton of points. At least one team in each of these games. You think about Green Bay, Atlanta, Arizona early in the season, they're looking better with Nuke, but they all have flaws. It's not like a flawless, like Miami versus Detroit. That is just going to pop off. Or, Buffalo versus Kansas City. That's going to go nuts. There's nothing like that. There are high total games, but they're not as exciting as the previous high totals we've had, which I think is good for DFS.
Yeah, in those first 2 games you mentioned, I think my issue with like Green Bay, Detroit is that I think both teams want to play that through the backfield, which is highly concerning, because if you're looking for a ton of points, that's generally not how we get a ton of points. I think the under is the way to play that game. I think, we definitely will see the Packers playing slow. We'll almost certainly see them playing at run heavy. They should be successful and efficient, but I don't know if they're going to just be kind of crushing the Lions and forcing them to the air. And the Lions have been a run-first team this year. They get a run-funnel Packers defense that's terrible against the run. I think they're leaning on their running game. I don't see that being like a super fun fireworks type of environment. Now, it could all concentrate and you could have like some must-have guys in that game, but Amon-Ra St. Brown and, the Packers receivers and Aaron Rodgers, they don't look like super, super enticing to me. They're certainly viable, but I'm not like dying to play those guys. The game that jumps out maybe a little more because the Chargers one is similar, right? Like the Chargers, all their receivers are hurt, so they're probably going through the backfield. We know the Falcons are going to be run heavy. The Chargers stink against the run. So that's another game that could kind of just fizzle. I'm willing to kind of get a little excited about the Seahawks and the Cardinals game. That is one where I feel like, the game dudded the first time they played, but now we do have DeAndre Hopkins back. The Cardinals have finally been showing some willingness to be pass first with Hopkins. They were last week anyway. And the Seahawks, we're probably being disrespectful to say, 1.5.
I know. I said it at first, and I was like, no, they're just good, man. I can't give them any disrespect. And it probably is, it's 1 for them. It should be 1 for them for sure. And half for the Cardinals because at least they put points on the board in their 2 games with Nuke. One of which 14 of them came through pick sixes, and one of them was a loss to the Vikings. But I'll give them credit for half and the full for Seattle. They're a good team, no doubt.
Yeah, so that's leading me to feel like, okay, that's definitely in play. But if you're now you're going to play this passing game. it's an expensive thing to do if you're going to be stacking up the Cardinals, right? Because you've got expensive Kyler, you've got expensive DeAndre Hopkins. You can do Rondale Moore, but it's not like he's exactly a punt play. He's 5,200 on DraftKings. Zach Ertz is also 5,100, so he's fairly expensive. I don't think he feels great either. So, and then obviously, if you're playing this game, it feels a little silly to not have like DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. Like, so you have highly concentrated but expensive pieces, which makes this like tough to really get into as like a true game stack, right?
I mean, I would say normally yes, but you look at like the way that you should have, and I did not play Miami last week, is that game was so clearly the best game, and that offense was so clearly the best offense. It also broke perfectly. They went down 14-0, I think, almost instantly. But that game broke in a way that it set up the clearly two best, and only the two. They don't have other receivers. They have two receivers, and that's the exact same setup we have on the Seattle side of this game. So you could see a scenario in which this isn't a particularly good slate. Really, the one team, as we should always be worried about, really smashing would just be the Bills, right? And if Diggs drops 35 or whatever, totally possible, then you've probably spent too much on the Seattle side if you're double stacking. Same with Cooper Kupp, maybe. Cooper Kupp drops, he's very expensive. Might have to drop like 40. But if you get a smash game from one of those guys, your double stack may not get there. But if the rest of the slate is just kind of low scoring, you could probably justify investing 3 expensive receivers in this specific game.
It sounds like you're saying Geno doubles with Hopkins bring back.
I think that's perfectly viable. It is obviously expensive, right? And, maybe that boxes you out of playing some of the higher end running backs. It probably does. But we don't have even like, the NFL hardly has high end running backs worth paying up for, let alone this slate with no Henry, no McCaffrey, I don't think. So I think I'm fine if it forces you to go down to play, Mostert, Singletary, or Mostert Foreman maybe, or something like that. So you're not getting up to Jacobs, ETN. Well, not ETN as much, but Jacobs, Jones. So I actually think it's fine. I'm not sure it's something I would do. So you're right. I think you're touching on an important point that it is difficult to get 2 30-point games out of 2 players on the same team, both vying for targets. But you might be able to get there, especially in small field, with a 21-point and a 30-point game if this is a low-scoring slate, which there aren't like massive games. So I think it's certainly viable.
What are your thoughts on DK Metcalf? Because he, was carted off a couple weeks ago. He got in a full practice yesterday. He obviously played well, led the team in targets last week. But it's a knee injury. Patellar tendon was mentioned at the time. Like, it was pretty scary. Is he just fully healthy?
I mean, I doubt he's fully healthy.
Is he fully healthy for our purposes?
And yes, that is the point. Is guys who see 30% of the targets and 57% of the air yards, which he saw last week, that sounds like fully healthy. I'm sure if you asked him, he'd be like, "No, my knee hurts very bad, and it hurts when I run, and I don't like it."
But it seems to be moving correctly when he runs downfield.
Yeah, so, exactly. When he's racking up air yards, the health doesn't seem to be an issue. Which exactly. I mean, it's callous, but that's what I'm looking at is his ability to draw targets. And maybe if he's like dreadfully inefficient on them, that would sort of lead you to believe, oh, well, they're just running the offense through him because they have to, but he's not healthy. But he wasn't inefficient by any means last week. He scored 655.
They also don't have to. Like Tyler Lockett's out there and playing well as well.
So I don't want to say he is fine. From our analytical perspective, trying to predict outcomes, he saw a bunch of air yards. He saw a bunch of targets relative to his team's pie. That is fine for fantasy purposes.
Yeah, we're not applying an injury discount here, I guess the better way to put it, right?
Correct. I am not, no.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, maybe like a Geno or maybe is this a mini correlation? Do we not even bring along the quarterback? We try to find our quarterback somewhere else. Are you interested in like a somewhat expensive mini correlation of Hopkins and DK or Hopkins and Lockett?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably how I would play it. Because like I said, I think you're definitely onto something that it's not like this is the Chiefs, right? Where you can just play a bunch of expensive dudes and expect them to get there, or the Bills. They're not quite that super pass rate team. They don't have a 30-point implied team total. So that's how I would play it. But I think in small field, it's fine to go with the double and the run back. But I personally would go with something like Metcalf, DeAndre Hopkins, and play Geno. On the other side, are you into Kyler Murray at all? Because I think Geno will be popular. That's the real thing that I like. I don't care too much about the salary constraint because of the dynamics of this slate. I care more about the fact that Geno plus probably Lockett will be, and Metcalf to some extent, will be popular plays because there aren't many great plays. And Geno is still underpriced for how well he's playing. So I think I'd be a little interested in playing this from the Kyler Murray side if you think there's any life to that.
I think that's viable. I mean, you're looking at a slate with Josh Allen as like the obvious ceiling guy. We don't have Jalen Hurts, and so we don't have Mahomes. So if you get a big game from Kyler, I feel like it'll separate you from the field pretty easily. I feel like I don't love him at 7,400 on DraftKings, but he's definitely a viable way to play this game. And like I said, I kind of like this game environment. Like I feel like both teams are getting kind of a redo from the crappy first game they played. Seattle's defense is not good. Arizona's defense stinks. So there should be points in this game, and I guess my issue is I have thought of the Cardinals this year as a run first team because they have been, but and trusting Cliff Kingsbury to kind of do the right thing and run an offense the way I think an offense should be run is never works out for me.
Never feels good. Never feels good going to a slate with that being the win condition you have set up for yourself.
Exactly. But I do think with Hopkins back, maybe they just say, you know what, we're going to lean a little bit on the passing game here. So yeah, I think Kyler to Hopkins is totally doable. I guess my concern with it is like, are you adding anyone else on? Because then it's like, okay, it's 7,400 to add Kyler. Am I double stacking this, or am I just really hoping Kyler gets there with his legs?
Yeah, I don't know if I double stack him, especially because he can get there with his legs, but he's also expensive, right? So you do need him to probably score 3 times in some fashion.
Exactly.
Rondale Moore is only 5,200, and he played, I think, nearly every snap last week. He didn't play a ton in the slot, but that's because he's out there for every single snap. He's still getting volume-wise, a literal amount of slot snaps. It's just sometimes they kick him out wide. And you pointed out that he's not actually been like that much different on his out wide versus slot snaps.
Same target rate.
It's just when he's in the slot, they scheme stuff for him. And like when you take away the scheme stuff, he looks like the same type of receiver outside versus inside. It just is nice that when he's inside, it's like, oh, let's just manufacture some easy stuff for him. So I think he's only 5,200 on DraftKings. It's probably fine to go with a Rondale plus DeAndre Hopkins. Like we said last week, I don't know, man. Zach Ertz, they haven't priced him down enough to where at 5,100, he's not even getting the targets now. I would
thanks.
What is your win condition for Zach Ertz? It has to be because he's not like without 10 targets, he's not threatening 70 yards, right? We've seen the past 2 weeks, 5 targets, 4 targets, a combined 55 yards. Before that, he was a threat for 70 and maybe a touchdown. But you probably don't want Zach Ertz, both for the efficiency of Kyler and for the volume of DeAndre Hopkins, to see 10 targets. So, like, if
he needs to score, he has to score. Otherwise, I think it's done.
And even
he's not getting targeted.
Even at 51, he scored last week. He went 4 for 34 with a touchdown and got you 13. At 51, that's not enough. It's not even close, frankly. So, no, just none.
I'm out on Ertz. Ertz. Yeah, I agree. It has to be Rondale. And part of me wonders if you just do it single, or again, I feel like every time I think through it, I go, I'm just going to do a mini because I really just want to play Hopkins. I think that's Hopkins and one of Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf feels good. All right, any other quarterbacks that jump out to you here?
I mean, you pointed out I think Rodgers will be popular. I don't think he's had more than 255 yards in a game. I get it's a great matchup. I don't know. To me, I will tend to bet on, I don't want to say the lack of talent, but the lack of production we've seen from Rodgers if he's going to be popular, which he is. I'm almost positive of that. So I'd probably not be playing too much of that. Yeah, I don't know. I want to play Brady a little bit because Buck stacks do tend to project well when they have one of the highest pass rates over expected in the past 4 or 5 weeks. He's averaging like 320 yards in the past month. He just hasn't converted it into touchdowns because the offense has still been pretty poor. But you have to think at some point, like, he will have a touchdown rate over, it's like 3% right now. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just clinging too much to the old Brady we used to have. But he plays in the game with so many talented players that I want to be buying pieces of it, especially at low ownership. And also, the Rams lead the league in zone coverage, and he has been better, not elite, but much better against zone. He's averaging like 1.4 more yards per attempt and completing over 10% more of his passes versus zone. Like, if there's a spot, I get they're a talented defense. It's not like he's getting to face a bad zone defense, but he's been, and this team has been crushed by man. So I want to buy into this game. It does seem like at this point, or at some point, I will have to give up on Brady being good. One more week, please.
I'm with you. I think the Rams have a good run defense, and that's good, right? It's like one less reason that the Buccaneers will run the ball, which sucks the life out of their offense. They're 32nd in EPA per rush this year. Worst rushing offense in the entire league. We do not want them handing the ball off. All passes all the time, is good for this offense, obviously good for Brady. So I like Brady this week. I think he's sort of set up against he's in a decent matchup. His offensive line has played well all season. Chris Godwin has been pretty good at getting targets out of the slot on traditional routes this year. He's shown some burst on his screen targets that he's gotten. His yards per target has not been good on traditional routes. So to me, I'm like, all right, you're earning targets on traditional routes. You're showing some burst on screens. Feels like maybe just he's run bad. Like it's not an ACL recovery thing. It's just some natural inefficiency that we tend to get at the wide receiver position. Yards per target bounces around a lot. So I think Chris Godwin's pretty interesting here. I think Leonard Fournette is pretty interesting. Like that would maybe be the double stack I'd go with, is kind of just like they pass a lot and you're getting Fournette in the end zone. You're getting a bunch of Godwin. It doesn't seem like that'll be like a popular path this weekend. Fournette's be 6,600. It's not like, he's pretty easy to justify playing.
Yeah, I'll throw in, as we should, Mike Evans. Mike Evans in the past 3 or 4 weeks, I think it's since both him and Godwin have been healthy, 43% of the air yards, like they are just pumping him with like mid and deep shots in the way that I think of like Calvin Ridley, his final season that he played at an elite level, was the entire focal point of the offense, and they also moved the ball exclusively downfield. 43% of the air yards is kind of in that vein. He also leads the team in red zone targets, leads the team in end zone targets over that span. So he's getting so many high value touches high value targets. Every time they target him, it's a potential for like a 15, 20-yard gain or a touchdown. So, and dude, we talked about it a few weeks ago. DFS players hate playing Mike Evans, and I have no clue why.
Well, you also have talked about how when there's an expensive wide receiver on the slate that people aren't going to be gravitating to, you want to play that elite talent. Cooper Kupp, again, doesn't seem like he'll be super popular.
Yeah, I have to imagine Diggs spot. Will be far, like Diggs, Tyreek, Hopkins will be all far more popular than he will. They're just like, his price has come down a little bit. He's at 8,900. I think, has he been over 9K at some point? I think.
Yeah, he's been over 9K at points. Yeah.
So, oh my God, yeah, 96, 97. Yeah, so he's been well over 9K. So his price has come down to be in the same vein as Diggs and Hill, and still a little bit more than Hopkins, 1,000 more, in fact, on DraftKings. But I still think we'll see, because the teams, frankly, have just been far better. We'll see people obviously want to target the Bills and target two in the in Tyreek Hill far more than they'll be targeting this lowly Rams team. But Cooper Kupp is still pretty much Cooper Kupp. I think he's, first or second. Maybe DeAndre Hopkins technically hasn't beat because of a 2-game sample, but he's second in the, at least on the main slate in fantasy points per game. Like he's still mostly Cooper Kupp. His volume is great. The offense is just not quite as good. They're much worse, but volume is king. And this game has a lot of talent, and it's pretty easy to pick the talent we want to target.
Yeah, it does. So that's interesting to me. I guess I'm a little bit nervous the game kind of fizzles, but so is everyone, and that's why
the total isn't great. It's a pretty middling total, which is the only reason I'm not like shouting from the roof.
But I kind of like the over there, to be honest. It feels like one of those games that could go way under, but goes over more often than not. So it that won't feel good. Like you'll probably feel really stupid when you bet the over and there's like 40 points scored or something. But let me move on to another game. So I've kind of I have some half-hearted excitement for that Rams-Bucks game. I have some legit excitement for this Miami game. The Bears are not good against the pass. And I think, they've played a bunch of opponents who have been happy to run on them because they're also really bad against the run. And so the Bears, they look like this big run funnel because everyone's shifting to the run against them. But it's a lot of teams that already want to run. Playing Chicago going, wow, what a perfect opponent for our game plan. They can't push us off our run-heavy script. We can lean into what we do best, and we can just blow these guys away without having to take any chances with a quarterback we don't trust. That is not how Miami plays, and there's no reason for them to play like that here because the Bears do not have a good pass defense at all. So I feel like sometimes with GPPs, like this actually works. It seems like kind of dumb, but I feel like this actually can work. You just like literally go, Tua doubles worked last week. No one's playing them this week. The matchup's awesome. I'm playing Tua doubles again. Now Tua doubles are super expensive because the only way to really do it is Hill and Waddle. You have to play. You don't play Gesicki. You don't play him. I think you're playing Hill and Waddle only. So can you afford a Tua double with 8,500 Hill and 7,400 Waddle?
Yeah, that's one. I mean, I think I've said this like twice this year. I'm like, I don't know if I'd play. They're both quite expensive, and they both nuke because. And I saw you said like something about why they could run, but that they just don't want to. Why would you run when you have this team? And this is somewhat related. I saw someone tweet a reply to like Benjamin Solak of The Ringer, right? I think of The Ringer, whatever. And was like, why aren't they using more jet sweeps for Tyreek and Jalen Waddle? They'd both be so good in such a Debo role. And he was like, why would they do that? They're just destroying over the
better
middle.
Than jet sweeps? Like the jet sweep gets the guy in the ball's hand at the line of scrimmage. Why don't you get the ball in his hand 10 yards downfield, which they're doing over the middle of the field constantly? It's like perfect. I don't know. Yards after catch, starting 10 yards downfield is better than the line of scrimmage guys.
And it's like, why aren't they running the ball against this weak Bears defense after they like throw 35 times for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns? You're like, because 400 yards, 3 touchdowns. And that's perfect for this. Like this team plays in such a strong, like analytically sound and fantasy perfect way that it has proved me wrong to say you probably shouldn't pay this much for a Tyreek to Jalen Waddle double. That it's basically the same thing I said with Seattle in that if this slate doesn't score a lot of points, absolutely getting 50 combined points from your receivers, even if they're your 2 receivers, even if they're expensive, will be viable. So I think it's probably perfectly fine to do that. My only problem is that, like, what do you do with the other side? You're just not running it back.
I don't think you do a bring back. I don't think you do a bring back because the bet is basically it's spread. And we've seen them be kind of spread out. We've seen like N'Keal Harry get in the end zone. They're targeting Equinemius St. Brown in the end zone. Like, I just don't feel comfortable playing Mooney. He's 4,700. I guess that's who I'd go to.
It's cheap.
Yeah, maybe you play Mooney and get your salary savings that way. The only thing I really don't like about this, if you go to a double Mooney, you've burned 3 wide receiver spots and you have not taken care of tight end on a really weak tight end slate. Mm-hmm. So now you got to go dumpster diving, finding you got maybe like eating Evan Ingram chalk or something. That doesn't feel great. So that's the thing. So maybe you bring it back with Cole Kmet, but that seems ill-advised. So I don't know. I said you can't play Mike Gesicki. I kind of stand by that, but I really wish we could because that would just make this whole thing so much easier to get tight end taken care of in a game stack.
Yeah, did Gesicki, I believe he saw his snaps drop and his routes drop after Durham Smythe came back. He came back a week. It was Hunter Long.
Hunter Long was back as well last week, and he played.
Smythe came back a few weeks ago, but his snaps were still seemingly limited. It seems like we're back to the weeks, 1, 2, 3, where they truly committee their tight ends, and none of them are usable. But also, Cole Kmet, not usable, 1 game with more than 3 catches. I don't know if he has more than like 15 points in a game. So that is difficult that like you have 1 decent run back option. I mean, Darnell Mooney does have like just an outstanding share of the air yards on this team because they've had no one else to throw to on the short week. Claypool can't factor in that much, right? So
97% route rate last week. Kmet was only at 68%, although he was at 81% the week before that. But yeah, Kmet's just not getting anything. So I guess it has to be Mooney or nothing. I think it's probably okay to do nothing. Maybe you do like a little mini correlation with a tight end in another game. And that's
as far as receivers go, nothing would have been right versus the Lions, right? They had 3 running back touchdowns. I'm not sure if they scored another one.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, you did not win Amon-Ra St. Brown in that game. I can tell you that because I had him.
Brutal.
Yeah, I guess the run back was Jamal Williams.
Yeah, the run back was not a receiver. Maybe they had a Khalif Raymond or Josh Reynolds touchdown, but like, I don't blame you for not going to that.
They had a long play. I don't think they got in the end zone, but
yeah. So
Hawkinson was a fine bring back.
Yeah. So the answer was, though, last week we saw Miami. You didn't need to run it back because
you didn't have
just
to,
like in this game, it was weirdly distributed on the other side, and you just want to play Miami players because they're awesome. You don't even need the game, and it was last week, but you don't need it to be a great environment just because they have such a good pass rate over expected.
Well, the other thing is that this, unlike last week, this is not going to be a popular approach. So it's also like, I don't know that you need to get this game perfect, right? If no one's playing Tua, which it seems like no one is, And then Tyreek will have some ownership, but Waddle doesn't look like he'll have much. So
yeah, Tyreek will be pretty popular, and Waddle probably won't be.
okay, so if you have Tyreek, but you also have Tua, and Waddle also goes off, I feel like you have a massive lead on the field. You don't necessarily need to like get the right bear. You know what I mean? Go find some points. You need to find some more points, but it doesn't have to be in the Bears.
Yeah, you can probably play pretty chalky at that point. You've gotten a strong leverage on the field by going just this route.
Yeah. All right. Let's take some start sit questions. Doesn't look like maybe this didn't refresh. So we actually have more than I thought. All right, let's get into it. I traded away Jonathan.
Oh, no.
Did I do okay? The very first question is a trade that you already made. Congrats on the trade. We will not answer that question. Sam D also asks, should I trade Najee Harris for Swift and DK?
Yep.
Yes.
Harris isn't doing anything for you.
DK should be like on the other side of this trade. It's a free DK.
Yeah. It's maybe
it should be like Najee and DK for Swift, or Najee and Swift for DK, or some. But Najee shouldn't be getting the other two guys. That's wrong. That's wrong. Do that right now. Do that right now. All right. I worry about having constant injury problem. Dude, Najee Harris is playing like he's injured. Think about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, I'll pull him up. Start 2. 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Pittman, Gabe Davis, Swift, and Jackson.
Taylor was, I believe, ruled out as we got on this show.
Yeah. He's out.
Or maybe it's even just before that. But either way, I'd go Pittman, Gabe Davis. You're a little more Swift than I am. I just we've seen one good usage game from him this year.
I'd go Gabe Davis and Swift. The matchup. It's the matchup. It's talent and matchup. He played a majority of the snaps last week. To my eye, he looked healthy. I know they said he wasn't fully healthy. I think they're just trying to, not get him hurt again. I don't think they're worried about his performance. He's probably going to get sniped on a touchdown. Maybe he gets sniped twice and it ruins his day. But dude could rip off a 60-yard run, no problem against this defense. Packers stink. Who should I? Are you doing that, or is that just a glitch? Who should I start with? Every time I pull up a question, it gets pulled back down. Who should I start with?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, StreamYard fixtures say. Who should I start with? Chuba Hubbard ruled out. Godwin or Foreman in half PPR?
I'm still Godwin here, but I mean, Foreman's a good play.
Godwin. I think Godwin.
Yeah.
Although the Bengals, I guess, have all these cornerback injuries, so maybe the Panthers will be more effective than I was assuming.
Chidobe Uweze was put on an IR. I don't know if Eli Apple played last week, but if he did, he got hurt early. He might not have even played, and I don't know if he's back from that. So definitely have a beat-up cornerback situation, but
I need to drop one of these players when Elijah Mitchell comes off IR. Either Mitchell, Darrell Henderson, or Rashad White.
You can drop either of the first two. I mean, Eli Mitchell, they traded the equivalent of a first-round pick for McCaffrey and have cap committed to him down the road. He's playing every snap. So
yeah, but Mitchell has contingent value and Darrell Henderson does not. Darrell Henderson should be crushing right now, and he's not.
Yeah, you should. Darrell Henderson is a wasted roster space. Eli Mitchell is like a deep contingent cut. Both of them are perfectly cuttable. Henderson much more so.
Agree. Down bad flex play in half PPR. Likely if Andrews is out. AJ Dillon versus the Lions or Kadarius Toney.
Give me likely if Andrews is out, and if not, AJ Dillon.
That's exactly where I'm at. I'm not playing Toney this week. I guess my guess is he'll play 30-ish% of the snaps or something.
Me too.
Be a lot. Should I start Jeff Wilson? You should start him. No, you should not start him.
Correct.
I just wanted to say you should start.
I could tell
that the advice was bad. That was bad advice. Don't start Jeff Wilson. I think you could start Jeff Wilson soon, but not this week. Lazard or Palmer?
Lazard.
Agreed. Full PPR. Need one for flex. Ramondre Stevenson, Tyler Boyd, or Gabe Davis?
Stevenson.
Ramondre, baby. What's the deal with Damian Harris? He wasn't practicing, right?
I can pull that up. I'll pull it up while you bring the next question up.
Who to sit? Gabe Davis, Chris Olave, Alan Lazard. Chris Olave should not be in this conversation. Gabe Davis, Chris Olave, Alan Lazard, or Laren. I would go with Laren because I've never heard of him. Who's Laren?
I I was trying to look up Damian Harris, and you said that, and I was like, oh God, I'm not prepared for this question.
There's no like Laren. I can't even think of who Laren could be.
McLaurin?
McLaurin. All right, let's assume it's McLaurin. Laren? We're not doing Laren.
I'll sit McLaurin, and you're right. How could someone imagine benching Cris Olave? He's so good.
I think I'd sit Lazard over McLaurin. But
I still think
given that we don't. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's such a good spot for him. Like
it is. It's a very good spot.
The Lions' defense is like all-time bad. They're so far and away the worst defense by EPA per play allowed to pass. They're also bad against the run, but like it looks like a great efficiency spot, even if the Packers only throw 32 times.
All right, sit Laren. Okay, who would you trade away? Mixon? Would you trade away Mixon and CeeDee Lamb for Ramondre Stevenson and Amon-Ra St. Brown? This is a good one. This is a really good one.
This is a good one. I like the the extra work put into Stevenson there.
Yeah, I love the dollar sign on the first S and then Stevenson.
Yeah.
I mean, well done. It almost makes me want to say that side.
But I do think it's the other side. Like Mixon has, by expected points, been like a top 3 running back this year.
Who do you want between Amon-Ra St. Brown and CeeDee Lamb?
I guess a little still. It's been a while since I've been excited about Amon-Ra, but is it?
I think so.
I think they're so close that I would still take Mixon over Stevenson. I guess I'd go Amon-Ra over CD, but that's like such a coin flip.
I think you sold me with the dollar sign, dude. I'm ready to go with Stevenson. Here's the thing. I mean, Stevenson's workload this week is probably going to be as good or better than Mixon's, and he's a better running back. I guess down the line, Mixon is probably better to have, but I don't know. The heart says Stevenson. The head says Mixon. I think Swift is just going to be. All right. Start Dylan if Drake. Start Dylan or Drake if Swift does not play.
I mean, Swift is looking good to play. He returned to practice, but I
practice
guess
yesterday. I think.
I guess
he's
Dylan.
Playing.
Yeah. But he's playing.
Yeah. Dylan's a decent bet at a touchdown. Maybe they salt the game away with them. Would you trade away for Swift for Herbert at this point?
No.
I feel like Swift is going to get shut down. I mean, a lot of Swift pessimism. Do you share any of that? I mean, limited practice yesterday, not full.
Yeah, I mean, he played last week, came back and is practicing this week. I assume his Wednesday DNP was, I don't want to say maintenance, right? He's a little more than just needing maintenance. But if he's playing and then practicing again, even if it's later in the week, a shutdown doesn't feel like much of a scenario unless things get worse. But like it's hard to predict that happening.
This also isn't a team that's like they know the deal. Like the whole season was sort of them being bad, right? It's a team that's like playing its hearts out, but is bad. So it's not like the Colts or something where they're like, this season isn't what we wanted. Let's play for next year. Like, I don't know if there is a next year for Dan Campbell and company. Like they need
Absolutely.
to, they need to show these guys are still playing hard and everything. So I don't think.
Yeah, Dan Campbell's one reason to hang on to his job is that like his team loves him. He's coaching hard. They're covering the spread even if they're not winning, keeping close games. Like if he starts shutting players down, that's the end.
Dude, Dan Campbell last week they went for no one's really talked about. They went for a fourth down. They did a fake punt on a fourth down. They're playing and they converted it. They were playing so aggressive in the first half. They got a little conservative in the second half and they lost to Miami. But they were always going to lose to Miami. But I mean, I don't know, man. This guy is like really trying. I hope he's around next year.
They've been the most. I know last year, and I think it's held true this year. The most aggressive team on fourth downs. Like they are not like run pass wise an aggressive team, but on other macro stuff, they do look like a team that's trying their hardest.
They are. They're trying their hardest. Give this guy a quarterback. Let's see what he does with a quarterback. All right. Sorry, I'm a big Dan Campbell fan. If you can't,
I like him. He's like as far as football guys go, he's probably like my favorite in recent memory.
Oh, for sure. I mean,
I can't think of another like football guy who like he gets some stuff right, and also I do think his players love playing for him, and it's shown in the results because he's covering spreads, which is like a good indication of his team beating out the talent they have. Like being
my theory on Dan Campbell is that like he's using his football guy persona as like cover to do like just regular cool human shit. Like he listens to his coaches and stuff. You know what I mean? Like he listens to his players. He like one of the things he talked about when he took the job is like how important he thinks player input is. Like players feeling like they have a voice, within the team. Like he's got like kind of some like ideas and practices that, you know, he didn't have the kind of, if he wasn't a giant man who yells and has a red face, people would be like, oh, he's soft. You know what I mean? Like
I don't even know if he's
dude.
like
I think he's a smart dude.
using it as cover as much as like he just might be a good guy who's also like loud and a good team leader.
Yeah,
it works as cover. He's not using
it works as cover. I don't think
he's
doing it intentionally as cover.
Yeah.
But the package of Dan Campbell, it's so hard to stop thinking about kind of the vibe he gives off.
The aura versus the practice. Like if a bad coach was taking like a ton of player input, we would make fun of him saying he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, oh, this bad coach is just like, help me players. But when Campbell does it, because he has a lot of like respect within the organization and among
they respect him,
even like outside people, just like fans of football, we think that he's smart and probably is for doing that.
And I think the players put up with, like, when he's talking about, like, you know, when he's quoting Metallica lyrics at them, you know, they're also like, they enjoy it. They think he's like, you know, he's a likable guy. It's not, you're not rolling your eyes at some of his eye rolling stuff. All right. Anyway, sorry. Long tangent on Dan Campbell there. I hold, this is an answer to someone else's question. Would you trade away Josh Allen and Cooper Kupp for Lamar Jackson, Travis Etienne, and Jamar Chase?
That's interesting. Would I trade away Josh Allen and Cooper Kupp for Lamar Jackson? Yes. Especially because you're 7-1. That's like, you're in such a power position there that I think I would do it. Yeah.
The Josh Allen part scares me the most, actually, because I feel like you're getting the points back with Etienne. I think Etienne might be like the 102 next year in drafts. Like he's going to get maybe like the 104 or something like that, depending on where the wide receivers go. But dude's going to be really, I mean, he's going to be very expensive to get next year. He's got everything we're looking for. Trade Debo for Etienne or Stevenson. I mean, you want Etienne over Stevenson.
Yeah, and you'd probably trade Debo to do it. I love Debo.
Agreed.
But banged up, lots of mouths to feed on that team. And we've already seen Brandon Ayuk step up to a degree that is going to hurt Debo a little bit, right? The best Debo is 30% target share, 30% air yards. I don't know if we're going to see that with all the players they have on this team now. So, Etienne.
DeAndre Carter, Demarcus Robinson, or Terrace Marshall?
Down bad, sir. Probably DeAndre Carter.
That's where I'm at. I think Terrace Marshall would be second. Eckler, Eno Benjamin, Deion Jackson, DeAndre Swift. Pick two, please.
Eckler.
I
mean, obviously Eckler. I didn't even have to think about that one. I guess it's DeAndre Swift. I don't know. I don't think DeAndre.
I think it's Eno if Connor doesn't go.
Oh, that's true. Because also Darrell Williams is out, and we saw Eno competing with Keontae. It wasn't competing with him. It was just Eno. So that's a good contingency to add.
Limited practice back-to-back for Connor. But I would go Swift over Deion Jackson.
He did the same thing last week. He got limited, I think, the entire week and then did not play. So it is far from a guarantee.
Flex Herbert, Pittman, or Rondale?
Pittman.
Yeah, I'm Pittman too. I assume that means Khalil Herbert. He's not going to play, unfortunately. Start CEH. I mean, he's going to be active, but they're not going to play him. Start CEH, Deion Jackson, or Brian Robinson?
Deion
for sure. I think that's an easy one.
Easily.
Both Robinson and CEH could have less than 40% of the snaps, and Deion Jackson can have like 75. Not a JT owner. Better pickup rest of the season. Deion Jackson or Nyheim Hines?
Deion.
I think Deion too. That is a team that could shut JT down. Drop Kirk for Josh Palmer.
No,
don't do that. I would start Kirk over Palmer. I see no reason to do that. Stream which defense? Oh, wow. Admiral Nita, thank you. You know our brains don't work when you do defense. We can't think of the teams you're playing. He tells us in the question. KC versus Tennessee. Miami versus Chicago.
Kansas City. I do like the tag. The Bears no longer. I think the Bears are still a team to target. Like Fields is still throwing turnover-worthy plays at a high rate, still taking sacks. He's playing better, and they're unleashing him, which is good for the offense. But also, it does help grant a little bit of upside to the opponents. Whereas if a team runs 30 times and throws 12 times, like sure, you're a pretty good bet to hold them to 10 points and get a good defensive performance there. But it does cap your upside. So I think it's probably a little bit bad for streaming defenses against them, but it's not the end of the world. Fields still isn't lighting the world on fire, but I will take what looks like either a very banged up Tannehill or Malik Willis, who was just dreadful last week versus Kansas City's defense. I'll go there.
I think it's going to be Malik. We had Tannehill downgraded to DNP
That's
yesterday. Right, yeah. And if you look at EPA per play, an efficiency metric that, is a pretty good one. The only quarterbacks who had a worse EPA per play in a game than Malik Willis did last week were PJ Walker against the Rams and Matt Ryan when he got shut up by the Jaguars. So Malik Willis didn't play well. They also didn't pass the ball, basically. That worked against the Texans. I don't think it'll work nearly as well against the Chiefs. So I think it's got to be the Chiefs. The Titans offense could look terrible this week. Pick a flex: Rondale Moore, David Montgomery, or James Conner.
Rondale Moore. I think even if Conner goes, I'd be worried that he doesn't play a full snap share. And he wasn't good to start the season anyways.
Isn't it Montgomery? His snaps were back up last week.
Yeah, he ran almost every route that the backfield ran. They didn't run 100% routes, but he out-routed Khalil Herbert 21-3. That's fine too.
I think I'd start Montgomery.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
It's not a great, but it's like your flex, it's not, you're not shooting for the moon, right? He should be fine. All right. Pick 3: Amon-Ra, Olave, Tyler Boyd, Pittman, Jacoby Myers.
First two for sure.
Olave. Yep.
Yeah. Those not hard.
Myers.
Yeah.
Pick 1: Jamal Williams or Deontay Foreman.
Foreman.
Now, Sam D has asked us a lot of questions here, and what I think he's done is have us set his whole lineup in a sneaky way, because he didn't put it all in one question. So, Sam D, congratulations to you. We answered some trade questions. We also set your whole lineup.
It was as soon as you said it, I realized we have been got, because we don't set your entire lineup, or we attempt not to set your entire lineup. But it turns out,
credit to you, you figured this out. I won't remember I've already answered Sam D's question, so we will answer them. All right,
maybe these are multiple teams, though. Maybe it doesn't seem like it, but maybe.
I don't think so. No, he got his running back position and his wide receiver set. Throw your quarterbacks in, Sam D. Let's set your whole lineup here. JT just traded. Traded. No. Was that good? Look, trades are hard to make. Congrats on that. I don't know if your specific trade is good because I won't put it in my brain. Is there a chance Zach Moss ends up vulturing Deion Jackson's value? Not this week.
Yeah, I think in the long term it's possible, but the thing is, Deion Jackson appears to be good, and Zach Moss does not, which is going to be a problem for Zach Moss.
Yeah, I think Zach Moss won't really have any role this season. Maybe he'll have a Philip Lindsay-esque role, but definitely not this week. All right, Olave or Deion Jackson?
No, easy. I like Deion Jackson this week. Certainly not that much.
Olave's looking like a star, so
yes.
You start him. David Montgomery, Gus Edwards, Nyheim Hines.
Montgomery.
I'm also Montgomery. If Swift is out, should I start Dylan?
We got this one already. Yeah.
Tony or Duvernay?
Duvernay.
Lazard game time decision, right? I don't.
He was back at practice. Usually, it would probably be a pretty light, questionable, probably going to play, and we get the Schefter overnight. He's going to play. Because he was back at practice as of Wednesday, I believe. So let alone coming back later in the week.
All right, Drake if Gus is out, or likely if Andrews is out.
Drake if Gus is out.
And this is a flex because he has Kelsey.
Yeah.
Half PPR.
I guess Drake. Drake's been running really efficiently. He'll definitely get the start. I think Drake.
I think it might be likely for me. It's just a bet on a touchdown and the fact he's going to run all the route. He had 80% plus route rate last week.
Yeah.
And that was with Andrews playing some, in the 20s. So, with Bateman out too, I don't know. I think I'm likely. Lamar loves a tight end. Should I drop Drake for Brian Robinson? I would not.
No.
They're not getting anything from Robinson. Waller, Conklin, or Taysom Hill?
Dude, Conklin over the last 2 weeks is not just balling out. His market share stuff is number one. It's
I didn't write him up in the walkthrough, and I'm like, it was a mistake, man. I should have mentioned him because he's probably going to have a good game.
Yeah, I got him in the DFS preview, the building blocks, because he's got 46% of the. It's 2-week sample, so let's not get carried away. But for a tight end to be able to move downfield the chains, 46% of the air yards, I think all 4 of the team's end zone targets. Maybe they have one or two other ones hanging out. Well over 20% target share, 26% target share. It's a 2-game sample, so I don't want to read into it too much. but that's alpha stuff right there. So I'm going to go Conklin because Waller was also not playing like an alpha to start the year. Like it was very clear that the move to get Devontae Adams has deeply impacted his ability to earn targets. Understanding. So I'm going Conklin.
He might not be fully healthy, might not be out there for full.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think if Waller was healthy, I'd go Waller just as a bet on talent. But I think it's Conklin. I think it's Conklin this week. All right, Jacoby Myers or Tyler Algier and flex.
Myers, easy.
Agreed. I think Algier might be toast this week with Patterson back, potentially back. Tyler Higbee or TJ Hawkinson.
Higbee. I think in a few weeks I'll change my tune but for now, I'm not.
You can't bet on the routes yet. Irv Smith is a part-time player. That's who he's replacing. He'll be part-time this week, I think. Michael Carter or Romeo Dobbs.
Dobbs.
I think Dobbs too.
Yeah.
All right, looking to pick up one. DeAndre Carter, DeMarcus Robinson, or Terrace Marshall. I think we answered that.
Think so.
Carter. Is Connor playing this week? If so, Foreman, Deion Jackson, or Connor?
Yeah, I truly don't know because, like I said, Connor got in, I think, all 3 limited sessions last week and just ruled out on Friday. Didn't even get a questionable tag. Straight up ruled out.
It's still Deion Jackson for me, even if Connor goes.
But I agree. Actually, I don't know, man. Foreman, Chuba Hubbard ruled out again this week. I think I'd go Foreman.
That's fair. Yeah. All right, pick up Garrett Wilson for Brandon Cooked. This is a shallow league. Garrett Wilson's available. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, like, they said Cooks is supposed to be returning to practice next week.
I think. I don't know that I drop Cooks for Wilson. I don't know. Maybe I would.
I think I would, especially like I assume this is like, are you even starting Brandon Cooks? Because also his role outside of the first 2 weeks has not been that good. It's like a 20% target share on a team where he should like no one on that team should be seeing targets outside of like maybe Nico Collins every now and then. So the fact that he isn't dominating targets against really weak competition, like I'm actually concerned about Cook's rest of season. So I'd go Garrett Wilson.
All right. Flex Josh Palmer or Kadarius Toney?
Palmer.
All right. So this is a new one here. I dropped someone. And what do you guys think of that decision? If we're not answering trades that you already made, I'm definitely not answering waiver pickups you already made. Come on, guys.
Hey, guys, I joined a Superflex league. Do you think that's smart?
Oh, my God. I mean, congrats on the pickup. Those are easy to do. So I guess I'm not impressed. Trades are much harder to pull off. CMC out. Need to start one of David Montgomery or Khalil Herbert. I mean, Montgomery's playing well ahead of Herbert. He's worse. He's not as good as him, but he's definitely playing ahead. All right, that's where we're going to leave it. We're going to fire through a little bit more DFS talk. Do you have a hard out or anything? Because I feel like I have not managed the time well on the show. We might go a little over.
No, I don't. You're good.
All right. Okay, let's talk running back on this slate. There's some running backs that I think are pretty fun this week. I don't know if this is going to make it harder to build. It probably will, but I like some of the expensive running backs. I feel like everyone else likes them, but maybe it'll get a little spread out because there's like a lot of good plays, I think. So some of these good plays would be Austin Eckler, who could absolutely smash with all the receivers out against the Falcons. Aaron Jones, who I made the cover boy of the walkthrough. I think he's in a beautiful spot against Detroit. I think the offense is going to run through him. Far more interested in him than like Aaron Rodgers and the receivers. Josh Jacobs set up for a rebound spot against the Jaguars. I think the Jaguars have a fraudulent defense, so I think that's pretty strong as well. Travis Etienne on the other side, he's averaged 80% of the snaps the last 2 weeks. His efficiency is incredible on the ground. He can catch the ball. Really, very little you can point out that it isn't great about what Travis Etienne's doing right now. Joe Mixon has a chance to just get peppered with short targets as they try to avoid a pretty strong Panthers pass rush. They could also just lean on him a little bit more as a rusher. So I think he'll have the workload, even though he's been pretty terrible this year. And then Ramondre Stevenson is another guy that I think could have a really, really strong day. Did we look up the Damian Harris practice reports? I think, again,
he wasn't practicing, but it's an illness, and illness is so weird. Like players can go, like typically if a player doesn't practice all week, they're just guaranteed ruled out. Illnesses are just like they're a completely different beast. So, I mean, I guess at this point, I would bet against him playing a significant role if he's going to mispractice the entire week, even if he's active. Yep. So it does feel like what it was like the first game. I mean, really both the games since he's been back. It's been very clear he's just like a backup, right. More used than average backup. But Stevenson is the guy. He might even be more the guy this week. So Yeah, illness
He's
is a
very
tricky.
strong.
Yeah.
Just a couple more here. Well, Leonard Fournette we talked about. I think he's pretty interesting this week.
Me too.
Could have a lot of dump off passes to him. And then Kenneth Walker in a high scoring game environment. I mean, he's the talent he's shown as a 2-down rusher is immense, and bad defense he gets to go against. So I guess from a DFS perspective, like normally there might be a couple, 3, 4, maybe running back plays you feel like really good about that could go off. There's a bunch this week. And with game stacks that I don't like, maybe I haven't done a ton of running back in the flex this year, but this certainly seems like a slate where that's very in play. Now it's an expensive way to do it. We don't have a lot of, I mean, none of these guys are cheap, like low 6,000s is about as cheap as you'll get. Even like Deontay Foreman is at 6,000, Benjamin's at 5,900. That would be pretty interesting if Connor's out, but like, no one here is like true salary relief. And some of the game stacks that we talked about liking are also somewhat expensive. So what are your thoughts just generally on these top running back plays?
Yeah, like the lowest viable player. Actually, here's one. The lowest viable player is probably Antonio Gibson at 5,500, assuming JD McKissic doesn't play, because we have missed 2 practices. I haven't seen today's report yet, but he missed 2 practices to start the week with neck injury. So I call him the lowest viable play. Outside of him, it's like 5,900 if James Conner doesn't play, or the low 6K guys. I think we're going to see super popular Etienne and Jacobs. Both are just playing elite roles. Etienne coming off of a few great games, actually. Jacobs coming off the dud, but like his role in the dud game was maybe the best it's been all year, because he had literally every single running back carry. I believe he had every single running back target until the fourth quarter, in which Amir Abdullah got some garbage time run. So like we're at the point where people aren't going to, inverse box score chase his 7 points last week. They're going to buy the volume. So those two will be popular. I'm not sure how popular it'll be to get up to Eckler. He's dealing with an ab injury, and the stacks we want to play are generally, at least based on the receivers you're playing with them, pricey. So I kind of like if you can get like a mid-price stack and then get up to at least Eckler, because like the target shares we've seen with him are just consistently over 20%. And those are with like a few snaps pitching in from Keenan Allen, Mike Williams healthy. Now they're almost certainly missing both, right? I don't think Keenan Allen's been ruled out yet. He got hurt during the bye. How does that happen? So I can't imagine.
Well, it's a hamstring. I think, and they talked about his hamstring not responding the way they were hoping. And
he re-aggravated in practice a few weeks ago. It was like why he got the extended absence in the first place was that he came back too quickly, hurt it on a Thursday, and then ruled out again. So I don't think he plays. Obviously, Mike Williams not playing for a few weeks at least. Like this is like another like 12 target game inbound from him. So he'll be popular, but do I think he'll be as popular as the better value of Etienne or maybe the better value of Jacobs? I don't think so. So I'd want to be just like hammering him. And the Atlanta run defense, that we're mostly buying Eckler for the passing game role. The Atlanta run defense, they're like 28th in fantasy points allowed and 24th or 5th in EPA per play allowed to the run. So it's a great matchup.
It is a great matchup, yeah. And then the pass defense is horrific. So you can, I mean, they have that bad run defense, but they're still a massive pass funnel because the pass defense is that much worse.
Yeah.
So Herbert could move the ball with basically anybody, and he is going to have basically anybody as his top receivers, but it might not matter. Like Herbert could still be pretty efficient, which is obviously good for Eckler's chances of scoring touchdowns. Stevenson might have just gotten a boost because Harris was a DNP again today.
So, yeah, I think maybe then people play, especially because it's cheap and it's a good slate to pay up at receiver. I think maybe the popular build is Stevenson, Etienne, and then like expensive receivers, Allen Diggs or whatever.
So you're thinking if you can get a little more unique by going up to Eckler, like who is massive chart? Like, so I play mostly small field stuff, and what tends to happen is in giant large field contests, there's a million lineups and everyone can kind of play everybody. But in the small field stuff, you have to make tougher decisions. You're only entering, one lineup in a lot of these contests, single entry, 3 max, that type of stuff. So you have to make some tougher decisions, and the most popular guys tend to get steamed up, and the guys who aren't quite as popular tend to fall away a little bit. Who do you think is going to be like the key guys that are really, really, really popular in small field?
I think it'll be Etienne and Jacobs. Maybe Aaron Jones gets there because it's such a good spot. Just the Lions defense is dreadful. And we've seen the A.J. Dillon experiment dying off, especially last week with Jacobs or with Aaron Jones getting 20 carries, 5 targets. Like that was the most touches he's had in a few years, or like tied the most in the past 2 or 3 years. So I think those 3 will probably be the most popular. Stevenson, if we get Damian Harris ruled out, though, might sort of split that 6K ownership with ETN. Also, like 6K range is just really strong this week. Joe Mixon as well. But to me, my bet right now would be on the most owned running back being ETN and then Jacobs.
That makes sense to me. ETN is just a super strong play, period. And then to get him at 6,300, like I think you could make the case he's like the strongest play on the slate. Like
Yeah.
he looks like an elite talent. He's getting all the touches. We just saw Kamara rip apart this defense with big plays, which is exactly the bet we're making with ETN. So to get him at 6,300 just seems like wrong. So I think, yeah, he'll be very, very popular. Swift is a guy that I wanted to ask you about before we move off of, because he is at 6,400 here. So he's kind of a direct pivot off of ETN. He's not going to be popular at all. He has far less ceiling. So maybe he's just a bad play. But I don't know. Where are you at on him?
Yeah, to me, like it's so tough. It is a good matchup, like you said, but there are players in his range where we can get them. There are players cheaper that we can almost lock ourselves in for 20 touches. I think, especially for you, because you're playing small field, you're giving up so many projected points without acquiring really any more ceiling, because ETN is an elite runner.
I think I'm giving up ceiling.
Yeah, you're giving up ceiling because you're almost certainly not getting 20 touches. You need like the nut outcome to be multiple long runs just to chase down one of ETN, Stevenson, Jacobs, Mixon, who will pop off Walker too. So
yeah, I think you need to like just flip the build and
if the 6K range was very poor this week and all the good running backs were expensive CMC, Henry, Taylor, that type of deal, one of those slates, a pay up at running back slate,
exactly.
Then gambling on Swift chasing them down would be fine. But you're just giving up so much to play Swift, so I probably wouldn't.
I think I'm out on it too. I want to do it, but I don't think I'm going to do it. All right, let's talk tight end real quick. It's real gross. It's real gross. Evan Ingram jumps out to me as someone that I would like to play. It seems like maybe he will be pretty popular though.
Yeah.
Evan Ingram chalk now, does not seem great.
Pass.
Yeah, got to pass on that. But then, okay, we're passing on that. Foster Moreau, if Waller's out, I assume he will be chalky. Now, can I play Evan Ingram, or is it still?
That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like we're probably headed for Waller questionable, in which case, like late Sunday or early Sunday morning, Moreau ruled as the starter. If that's how it goes, probably isn't like going to be that popular.
I don't know. I think he'll be somewhat popular because maybe not, because
he's also 3,200, which isn't like a massive. I mean, it's not savings on this slate when cheap. Evan Ingram is 33 though. Like the difference between him, if he gets the start, he's not that much better of a play than Evan Ingram.
I think he's still a worse play. Yeah,
he might be, right? Like,
yeah,
maybe he is, maybe he isn't. He got 9 targets. He played, I think, nearly every snap last week. But Ingram's got like nearly 20% target share, air yard share. He is a perfectly good play. So I don't think it would make a huge difference for the slate in terms of ownership. Maybe he'd be a good pivot off of Ingram, but I don't think he'd draw a ton of ownership.
So what do we do? Mark Garcia, who works with us at NBC Sports Edge, was talking up James Mitchell as a potential play. More interesting if Brock Wright is ruled out with a concussion.
I think only interesting if Brock Wright is ruled out.
But I think like somewhat interesting as a pure punt play if he is.
Yeah, if he's ruled out, I'll play pretty much any 2,500 min price tight end with a pulse. Without Hawkinson, it's a perfectly fine play. It's also like a high scoring environment, as ugly as that sounds. It's got the highest tied highs with a few other teams total of the week. So yeah, it'd be a fine play.
Anybody else?
We talked about him earlier, but Tyler Conklin, I think, is just like a slam dunk if he's not going to be popular. You could maybe get up to Gerald Everett. He does have like true wide receiver 1 level potential in his range of outcomes because there are no other wide receivers of note on this team. We're not even sure Josh Palmer, who's coming back from a concussion, is like a lock to play. So I think if we get, even if he's not ruled out, I would say that that's a pretty good play because paying up in the slate is still pretty cheap. 4,800 is not going to be a popular spot to get to.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, Everett. I don't know if he's like going to be worth it. When I go to put lineups together, because you're going to have to make sacrifices to get him in, and I feel like I'm going to end up just punting instead. But the Conklin shout's a good one. I like that a lot, and I don't think it doesn't seem like he's projecting that well. So I don't think it'll be popular.
Mhm.
All right, we're going to answer. It's already 2:00, so we'll just fire through some questions here till we stop. Maybe we'll get through them all. We'll see. All right. Josh Palmer, Connor. I can't remember if we answered this one, but we'll answer it again if we didn't.
Palmer. Connor?
I think I'm still Connor just because I think I've wrote in the walkthrough his pass protection so much better than Eno that I think he gets the passing down work. So, but I don't know. That's kind of a coin flip. Fields or Tua? Tua all day. Palmer or Deion Jackson? Deion Jackson for me.
Yeah.
What to do with Swift Jamal? I think I'm still Swift, but are you Jamal now?
I think I'm Jamal now.
Yeah, I get it. It's played on touchdowns. Yeah, I'm still Swift though. He's just good, guys. He's good. Taysom Hill or Kyle Pitts? Kyle Pitts, come on.
Probably it's Kyle Pitts, but like, man.
Hilliard, Eno Benjamin, rest of season.
Eno Benjamin, like there's still very good outs to him starting, whereas like you're only like we already have James Conner hurt. You already kind of won, right? Even if he plays this week, he's definitely not close to healthy. Whereas Henry, as far as I guess Henry was like limited in practice. He's probably fine.
Pat shut down Jamal Williams. Will they do that to Deion Jackson? I think there's a good chance they do.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to shut down a Sam Ehlinger-led offense.
Yeah, that is a concern. I guess the out you have is that Ehlinger is not as good as Matt Ryan in terms of providing a bunch of short dump off passes. But if the Patriots are winning this game, we have seen them incorporate Deion Jackson a lot in the receiving game. So maybe you get more dump offs than we saw from Jamal, who's weirdly like plays passing down sometimes when Swift is out there, but when Swift's not out there, they don't tend to use him that way. All right, who wins this trade? Chris Godwin for Gabe Davis.
It's very possible.
Now, is this a trade that was made?
Yeah, I was going to say that. We'll be generous and allow it because it's ambiguous. Innocent until proven guilty. Chris Godwin.
Oh, I think. Yeah, it probably is Chris Godwin. Yeah, it's Chris Godwin. But man, Gabe Davis is fun. All right, you guys told me to start Gabe Davis over Foreman last week. I didn't listen. All right. Thank goodness I didn't listen, but still appreciate what you guys are doing. See, what I like to think is you could tell that we were wrong in our demeanor. So we still helped you out.
We have to talk about this another day, but is Gabe Davis good? Or is he just a guy who plays with Josh Allen?
Can it be both? He's not. He's good at a certain thing, which is stretching the field, drawing coverage, and helping everybody else out.
He's very MVS in that way.
He is. He's their MVS, but he's better than MVS.
Maybe.
Man, Foreman, that was a good overrule by Mason there. Higbee or Robert Tonyan?
It's still Higbee, I think.
It's still Higbee, I think.
Can they? I mean, I know why they're doing it, but can they not use him to block as much for the fantasy stuff?
Wait, who's not blocking? What do you mean?
No, can we get Higbee less blocking? Because he's been like jumping back in line to block a decent.
Well, he was out with a stinger last week. He had a 40% target rate last week. He's getting out. He's getting targeted, man. He's good.
I would bet more so on the stickiness of him blocking on a lot of his snaps than I would on him drawing a bunch of targets playing alongside Cooper Kupp, I think.
Well, how much is he blocking? I mean, he was
2 weeks ago he spent a third of his passing snaps blocking.
2 weeks ago. All right, I'm pulling this up because I feel like he's been running a ton of routes. Run blocking, block away. Just don't.
No, he was pass blocking. It was almost exactly a third of his snaps were pass blocking 2 weeks ago. I didn't look at last week because he had.
Look at that. 2 weeks ago, 59% route rate. That's not good. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like that for the few weeks before that too.
Okay. No, he was at 76% in week 5, which is okay. Good. All right, you sold me. Let's go, Tunyon. Wow, look at this. Mason coming back after the bad advice. Alvin Kamara versus the Ravens or Kenneth Walker against the Cardinals. That's Kamara for me.
Yeah, me too.
All right, big week for Kenneth Walker. Gabe Davis, Rondale Moore, or Isaiah Likely?
All right, Gabe. I'm back. I'm not going to question Gabe that much. It's Gabe.
Yeah, it's Gabe. Tyler Boyd or Terry McLaurin in the flex?
Still Terry McLaurin.
Me too.
Yeah. Still Terry McLaurin.
Will Tyreek score touchdowns? He doesn't score touchdowns, does he? But yeah, I think he might. This could be the week. Which stream defense? Bengals against the Panthers Chiefs against the Titans, telling us who they play. We love to see it.
I think it's Chiefs against the Titans.
Me too. In my flex, Dobbs, Josh Reynolds, Kenyon Drake.
Dobbs.
Yeah, me too. All right. Brian Robinson or Rashad White. I just take the chance on Rashad.
Sure.
His yards per route one's really good. Both stink as rushers.
Mhm.
Should I give up Deontay for JT and JT? Deontay and JT for Jacobs and Everett?
I don't.
This is the shutdown question. Does JT get shut down? Because if he gets shut down, what a win. If he doesn't, you want the other side, I think.
I think we're betting against him getting shut down. And like, there's, I think you still want JT and Deontay. Like Everett does nothing for you. Like he's perfectly fine, but is he any better than the tight end 7? Which like you can probably go find Tyler Conklin or like the next Hayden Hurst or whatever. Any of these guys. There's just like, there's no upside by getting Everett on your team.
What are the scenarios where you take the Jacobs side and lose the trade massively?
Deontay regresses positively. Please, God.
Yeah, I guess that's true. The Deontay side's what's burning it here.
Especially no Claypool in that team either. Like there's a potential for him to get a higher target share and have positive regression by yards per target.
I don't see how much higher it could go. His targets are already there. He just needs to do something with them.
Like there is room for massive growth from Deontay, and JT could be just as good as Jacobs in 2 weeks. Like that's how you lose massively. And Everett's Tyler Conklin, he's Dawson Knox, he's any of these other dudes.
You're probably right. You should probably do the JT side, but if you get a bad feeling about JT, I wouldn't blame
Oh
him.
yeah, for sure.
Lenny Foreman or Deion Jackson?
Lenny, I think.
It's Lenny or Foreman.
It's definitely Lenny or
Foreman.
I'm Lenny.
Yeah,
me
I
too.
think I'm Lenny. His snaps were back up last week, so
yeah,
I think you can trust him. Pull the trigger on this trade if you had Nick Chubb. Now, this is a second trade question, so I like to think that he's testing out trades he has not made, right? Because you wouldn't just ask about all the trades you already made. Full PPR, deep 12-man league. Nick Chubb for Najee Harris, Dawson Knox, and Chris Godwin. Should I offer more for Chubb? So wait.
I think he's trying to ask us to get in the
Chubb,
mind
and he's trying to offload Nick Chubb. Man, when you put Najee Harris,
should I offer more for Nick Chubb?
Oh,
it sounds like he's trying to.
You're the Chubb?
Yeah. No, I want Chubb over these guys. Like Najee Harris is a nothing. Dawson Knox is like, he's any other tight end that isn't good.
I think you could send that though. That's not like a get this out of my inbox type of offer.
Yeah, it's respectable, but I still want the Chubb side of this.
Yeah, I would send it, see what happens.
Like this is so close to just Chris Godwin for Nick Chubb. Like Najee Harris is doing nothing for you, and Dawson Knox is fine, but he's replaceable.
Rodgers dropped. Should I grab him? I have Herbert.
Yeah, I mean,
who are you dropping? I don't think he's necessary to pick up if you have.
He's not necessary to pick up. No.
I wouldn't prioritize him. If you have like a tough drop, I wouldn't bother. Tua or Herbert? Tua. Now that's for this week. That's not. We're not saying who's better in the NFL. We're not getting into that. Foreman or Jackson?
Foreman.
I think I'm Foreman. I wonder if have we been consistent on that point? I feel like maybe the chat.
There's totally a chance we haven't. I think about
we may have told someone else is Jackson.
No,
I think Foreman. Yeah, and that's retrospective. Any other Foremans over Jacksons that we didn't say are now retroactively in place. Have Henry. Do I drop Pacheco for Hilliard after the weird Q tag on Henry?
Did he get a Q tag today? I know he was like limited, I think. And
I think I would. But what's Pacheco really doing for you?
Yeah, like the thing is, we already saw the Pacheco takeover, and it was that he got 2 more carries than. I mean, maybe he gets more carries still. There's room to grow, but he's not going to catch passes. They don't run the football anyways. I'd go for Hilliard. Hilliard also looks really good. Like he gets on the field and just chunks runs away. Obviously, it's kind of easy when Derrick Henry just batters the opponent 10 times in a row. Nonetheless, he looks good.
Josh Palmer or Devin Singletary?
Singletary?
Yeah, I think last hurrah Singletary this week. Should I start Tunyon over Higbee? We answered that one, but I think from maybe a different person.
From a different person, for sure. At least the question was worded.
Let's do Tunyon again.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. T agrees. If you own Henry, get Hilliard. I think that is the right move. All right, Allen Robinson or Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson. Better dart throw this week, Mac Hollins or Deshaun Jackson? Mac Hollins for me.
Correct.
Drop either Robinson. Oh, either Robinson. So he's dropping a Robinson, James or Brian for Eno. Yes.
Definitely one of them. I guess I'd go Brian.
I'd go Brian too, I think.
They're both very droppable.
Yeah. More frustrating. Keenan, this is not actionable, so we shouldn't answer it, but it's kind of fun. Keenan
Swift,
Allen.
I mean, my bags tell me it's Swift. Like, I didn't have much Keenan Allen this year. He's fine, but like, and like,
yeah, but imagine you had both. Imagine you've drafted both. Who's more frustrating?
Well, if I drafted Keenan Allen, I was a loser. No.
Keenan's been more frustrating because it's like, oh, he's going to play this week. Oh, he's going to play. Oh, his hamstring hurt again. DeAndre Swift had that little
you
burst.
You drafted a 30-year-old receiver. That's on you.
You're right. It's Swift. Come on, get out there, play some ball. All right, Staley tweeting Keenan back. I don't know what's going on. Lots of discussion. All right, should I trade Gibson and Drake for Keenan Allen? I have Cook, Kamara, Etienne.
No.
It's too much information. Gibson and Drake for Keenan Allen. No. No.
Gibson's got some potential stirring up right now.
All right. Is Malik worth the punt play with the rushing floor?
I have thought about this. I don't think so because I'm very tepid that they would even down 30, like, or, I guess down 30, you've given up, even down 17, right? The sweet spot of still in the game, but probably, have to pass a lot. Do they even pass a lot in that scenario? Because no. If you tell me Malik Willis gets 30 dropbacks, I'm like, oh yeah, dude, he's rushing 12 times on that. He is just going to scramble. I
think they give up. No one has been giving these coaches any grief for giving up this year. We saw the Packers do it last week. We saw the Falcons do it against the Bengals. The Bears did it against the Packers. No one cares. They just keep running the ball until the clock expires, and no one gives them any grief. So I think Vrabel just does that. No one wants to get embarrassed. Drop Drake for Aaron Rodgers. I have Herbert.
I think we got this one already.
Oh, we got this one.
No was the answer. If you're
wondering. No was the answer. Should I trade Dalvin Cook and Ayuk for Kamara?
Yeah.
Yes, you should. Kamara's workload is ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
You got to get him. Robert Tonyan or Taysom Hill at tight end. Robert Tonyan, I think.
Big Bobby still.
Yeah. Drop Higbee if I have Pitts.
Depends who you're picking up.
Yeah.
If there's a decent,
you could.
Yes, you can. Like, both of them are giving you the exact same thing, which is not that much. So.
But the exact same thing, which is basically nothing. If Connor is out, Ramondre, Walker, Eno, or Foreman. Pick three.
Still the first. Oh, the first two. Still the first three if Connor is out.
First three if Connor is out. But you're totally fine if you have to start Foreman there.
Correct.
Kupp or Jefferson.
What is this?
What's going on? This isn't a start sit question. This is a DFS question. But hey, it's half a DFS show, so we'll do it. All right, Chiefs or Buck D?
Did we do it? You said we'll do it, and then we skipped it.
Well, you said, wait, didn't you answer it?
No, I said, what is going on?
I rug pulled him. I would go Kupp too.
Yeah.
Should I trade Miles Sanders and Dak for ETN? Yes. Yes.
Dak's not giving
super
you
flex. What value does Dak?
Yeah. If it was a super flex, but like what you were saying it too. What value is Dak giving you? Like nothing.
Nothing. ETN is a stud right now. Get ETN.
Yeah.
Trade Amon-Ra for JT.
I think I would just take Amon-Ra.
I think I would too. What a bummer. What a bummer. John, you bummed us out, but I think it was a smart offer that someone sent you to try to get Amon-Ra. I assume you have Amon-Ra. I would take Amon-Ra there. All right. Steven Sims would actually be a fantasy buzzkill for Pickens and Deontay. Steelers like their three-wide formations. They can like their three-wides all they want, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Sims will get any targets. So
yeah, exactly. He will play. I do believe that is correct that he'll play snaps, but like it's the same thing. I'm going to compare him to a tight end. It's the same thing when your team runs like extra 12 personnel. Putting a tight end on the field is good for the receivers because they are going to get more targets than a tight end will. And Steven Sims has the talent level of a tight end in terms of accruing targets.
You were implying that, and I was going to call you out on that, and then you actually
I know.
said it,
I
so I'm
started
glad
saying
you did.
like, I'm gonna do this thing, and I was like, I did the thing.
You did the thing. All right, 2 of 3 between Godwin, Olave, and DJ Moore.
First two.
I think I'm DJ Moore.
I get it. I'm just so skeptical that PJ Walker is legit.
Yeah, I'm skeptical too. All right,
like-
I'll do the first two with you. Olave should not be in this conversation. Olave
Mhm.
needs to be locked into lineups.
Olave should be in the question about the guy starting Cooper Kupp and Justin Jefferson. He's not on
quite
their
there,
level, but he
he's
is closer
to
to their level than starting him
Yeah.
over DJ Moore. Like he is league.
Yes. Dalvin Cook and Ayuk for Kamara.
We got this one. You got this one.
Oh, we got this one. Yeah. You know what? I'll answer it again. Get Kamara. All right. Start 3 of these 4. Deion Jackson, Foreman, Terry McLaurin, and Josh Palmer.
The first 3. Just give me the first 3.
Yep. All right. Michael Carter or Khalil Herbert. Carter. What do you rank likely? I don't know. He's definitely like a low NT one, I'd say.
He might be closer to a high NT one. Tight end sucks. He was good.
Sucks. Need to start one of Josh Palmer, Garrett Wilson, or Rondale Moore.
Wilson
for me too. There's only a few left, and we are 15 minutes over, so we're going to answer these and then get out of here. All right, start Mooney, Marcus Valdes-Scantling, DeAndre Carter, or Mac Hollins.
Oh man, I guess it's Mooney.
To me, it's Mooney. Yeah. And then Carter, I think.
Correct.
Start Fields or Kyler.
Kyler.
Ertz or Everett this week and rest of season.
Everett both.
All right, last question. Oh, no, we got one more. One more in. All right. Down bat at receiver, Palmer, Tony, Alec Pierce, or Dobbs. Pick 2.
Dobbs, Palmer.
I think Dobbs, Palmer. I want to say White, and therefore I will.
Who?
No, I looked at the next question. That was down there. Asked about Rashad White. What I meant to say was Pierce.
I know you want to say Pierce. I'm just not buying the Sam Ehlinger offense. But I mean, his volume is actually pretty solid. It's just I'm not buying it.
Yeah. It's probably Palmer. Pierce is maybe. I think Pierce is. No, you should probably play Palmer.
For all of your Palmer questions, we had, I believe, I'm sorry if I mispronounced her name, Lindsay Thury. She's a LA reporter, said that Palmer, though he has clear concussion protocol, is not guaranteed to play. So check out this site, NBCSportsEdge.com, Sunday morning, because we should get an update on that. But just, we have a lot of questions about it. And although he's past concussion protocol, I'm guessing it's just a reps thing where he hasn't practiced all week or something of that nature. So check in on that, just to be safe.
All right. Well, I would be Pierce over Tony if we don't get Palmer. All right, Palmer, Jacoby Myers, or Juju. That would be Myers for me.
You could convince me Juju, but
you're Jacoby though.
Yeah, I think so.
Huntley or Rashad White.
Huntley if Cordero Patterson doesn't play, and I have no clue what Patterson's status is because they don't have to report on that until he's designated or until he's activated, not designated. So Huntley.
Geno or Fields this week.
Geno.
I'm also Geno. All right.
We got that one.
We already answered that one. Drop Edwards or Allen Robinson for likely.
Robinson.
Yeah, you can drop Allen Robinson. Pick 3, DJ Moore, Mike Evans, Palmer, and Juju.
Kick Palmer out.
Should I drop Rashad White or AJ Dillon to grab likely?
Only if you really need a tight end.
Yeah, only if you really need a tight end. All right, that's the last one. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week at 1 o'clock. Check out all the rest of our content on the podcast feed. We've got a bunch of great content for you there. It's also on YouTube. You can check it out here as well. We'll have a recap podcast going through all the games available for you on Monday. We'll also have the ranking pod with Pat and Denny. The rank pod with Kyle, Lawrence, and Pat. Pat and Denny will also have a show on Monday. And then we have our preview pod on Thursdays. All great content. Check out DFS Building Blocks. Check out the walkthrough on the site. We'll see you guys later.